You're listening to the JD Rucker Show. Let's begin. Well, it's January 6th, the day that means different things to different people. I would say that many, probably not most, but many Americans are still stuck in the brainwashing, the indoctrination that was done to them over January 6th. They still think that it was this massive riot, the worst day in American history, a day that lives in infamy, all that other stuff, thanks to, of course, legacy media, as well as the uniparty swamp. It's not just the Democrats. There are still, quote-unquote, Republicans, rhinos, who use January 6th as a narrative builder, as an agenda driver. Of course, we're talking about January 6th, 2021. But here, today, January 6th, 2025, it does mark a different day. Every 4 years, Congress and Senate get together. They're presided over by the Vice President, who is the President of the Senate, who happens to be Kamala Harris, who lost the 2024 election. They get together to confirm the Electoral College votes and to declare the presidency of the winner. And they technically also declare the vice presidency, which, if we're being technical, is a separate vote. Senate votes for the vice president. Congress votes for the president. That's a whole other discussion for another day. When that happens, and it will happen, then we'll see if there's any shenanigans from Democrats trying to prevent Donald Trump from returning to the Oval Office. But this does set the stage for January 20th, which will be Inauguration Day. So good things, and it went off without a hitch. Oh, hold on, there was one minor hitch that had nothing to do with the counting of the Electoral College votes or confirmation, but it did have to do with Kamala Harris, and I thought it was kind of funny. I know that on TikTok it's going viral because people are saying this is disgusting, this is disrespectful. I mean, it was disrespectful, but it's still funny. And I would say that Senator Deb Fischer's husband might be my spirit animal.
Hi. You want to come here, Bruce? In the middle, scoot over in the middle. No.
It's okay, we're white. We're gonna fight. Don't worry.
Okay.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States? Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you for your work. Thank you. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Okay, sure.
Okay. Back way just a little bit. There you go. Thank you so much. Ready? 1, 2, and 3. Hold it. Ready? 1, 2, and 3. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
There. 1 second.
Hi.
You want to come here, Bruce?
His name is Bruce Fischer. They've been married since 1972. It's a long marriage. And that's pretty much all I know about him. I don't know if that was just a straight up diss, full-blown whatever. It probably was. It kind of seemed very, very much intentional, very, very snub-like decision to not shake hands with the vice president, to just nod at her, thank her, and move along. Who knows? Maybe it was just some weirdness, but I don't think it was. I think he was intentional in doing it. We've got a fantastic show today. Of course, we are going to be talking about the J6 political prisoners later on in the show. I've got a couple of stories about artificial intelligence. Let's see, we're talking about the lunacy of the climate cult. Oh, I don't even remember. What are we talking about today? There's a lot of stories today, and I'm going to try to make them as concise as possible because we want to get through this. This is the start of a big year. And I want to apologize, speaking of start of a big year, I want to apologize for missing most of last week. For those who are watching the show, we tried, we got some clips out, but I couldn't really put together a full-blown show pretty much the entire week. And the reason behind it is because we are in the process of some administrative changes. Well, I'll just put it like that. Administrative changes to our long-term storage beef company. You can check them out, by the way, check us out at prepperfarms.com. But up until January 1st, and for really a few days afterwards, we've been in negotiations trying to go back to the original ownership structure of the company. You know, we had some partners we brought in, and things are changing. We're going back to the way things were before, but hopefully much better and wiser and more improved. Now, keep in mind, the product has never changed. The product has always been on the production side, on the delivery side, everything's been hunky-dory. On the administrative side, we've had some disagreements, and so we have all that cleared up. Praise God for that. Everybody's happy, and everybody's I think in a better place now that we have made these changes. To I guess celebrate, we are extend. It's more than just a celebration. I'll explain here in a second. But to advance the company, we are bringing back my good old, awesome, super amazing owner's discount. Use promo code JDR at prepperfarms.com, and you will receive 35% off. Now, for those who want, this is a big one. For those who just want the original steak product, okay, the original steak product it's called just freeze-dried beef steak. I think it's called beef steak, and there's 3 versions. You got the 1-pack, the 4-pack, and the 10-pack. If you just order those, and a lot of them, as many as you can, then you can use promo code STEAK40. That's one word, steak and the number 4, the number 0, STEAK40, and you'll get 40% off just on those 3 products. It's one product, but those 3, you know, 1-pack, a 4-pack, or a 10-pack of the beef steak product. Now you might say, well, what if I want to order some beef steak and some ribeye and some New York strip and some tenderloin? We couldn't figure out how to make it to where you plug in 2 different promo codes or anything like that, so you'll have to make 2 separate orders. I apologize. Go there, get your beef steak product. That is our most popular product, and use promo code STEAK40 at prepperfarms.com, and you'll get 40% off. Then, just start over, get your ribeye, your New York strip, your whatever, everything else, use promo code JDR, and then you'll get your 35% off on that. That is the way to do it. Go to prepperfarms.com and stock up. It's all American beef. It's the good stuff. We only use, it's actually all Texas beef, to be very specific. It's never left Texas. From the time it was born until the time it's slaughtered, the only time it'll ever leave Texas is once it's in a bag, freeze-dried, sealed with oxygen absorbers, no preservatives, and then shipped to you. That's the first time that our cattle ever venture out of the great state of Texas. So check it out, prepperfarms.com. Use promo code JDR on any product, or use promo code STEAK40 on the beef steak product. With that said, let's get started. What's the first story? It only takes AI agents 2 hours to replicate your personality with 85% accuracy. Now, for years, I have been screaming from the top of any mountain that I can possibly climb to say that artificial intelligence may very well be our downfall, that it is an existential threat to the human race, and not in a way that I think most science fiction depicts it. I think a lot of times we picture these violent robots or Skynet, flying dogs with guns or something, But that, I don't think they're going to go down that road. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying that it won't be necessary. We're going to, as a race, as a society, I should say, not necessarily as a race, but at least Western society is going to willingly hand over the keys to our various castles, whether it's you as an individual or entire companies, entire states, nations. We're going to look at AI. We're going to see that it can do certain things, quote unquote, better. I mean, artificial intelligence, especially generative artificial intelligence or artificial general intelligence, which is a totally separate thing, and especially if it is powered by quantum computing, through, all they have to do, they're close. They're this close. They just got to get the energy component down. They'll need nuclear energy, and they'll have to get the cooling component down, which they're in the process of doing now. Once they get all that situated and the processing power is able to run through quantum computers into a artificial general intelligence, that's it. I mean, that's it. And it will be unleashed upon us in ways that will seem very beneficial from the beginning, because they will be. I mean, here's the thing, is that true artificial general intelligence will be able to do things more efficiently. They'll be able, for example, and these are the positive examples that will be thrown out at us, that are already in the process of being thrown out at us, right? For example, being able to diagnose illnesses and come up with treatments, come up with better pharmaceuticals, better ways for them to not only discover what is wrong with us, what is ailing us, but also to be able to fix it more efficiently. They'll be able to do that better than, they being artificial general intelligence, will be able to do that better than modern scientists. They'll be able to do just about everything better than us. They will be, in many ways, better versions of us than we are of ourselves. And you might be like, that's ludicrous. It sounds like I'm pitching it. I'm warning you that the sales pitch for artificial intelligence is a strong one. And if it wasn't for the fact that we, as a society, we as a race, will so willingly give up certain things for the sake of ease or efficiency or safety, the various things that will, quote unquote, make our lives better, we'll be willing to give those things up. And it will fundamentally change our race, our species. It will change humanity. And not in a good way. It might seem good at first, but it will transform us. And it will, in my humble opinion, this is just based upon sort of looking ahead, I can see how artificial intelligence plays in very directly with the end times as described in the Holy Bible. But let's get to this article real quick before we get into too biggest stuff. This comes from End Times Headlines. It says, it only takes AI agents 2 hours to replicate your personality with 85% accuracy. Researchers have discovered that a 2-hour conversation with an artificial intelligence model is all it takes to make an accurate replica of someone's personality. In a new study published November 15th to the preprint database yada yada yada, researchers from Google and Stanford University created simulation agents, essentially AI replicas, of 1,052 individuals based on 2-hour interviews with each participant. These interviews were used to train a generative AI model designed to mimic human behavior. To evaluate the accuracy of the AI replicas, each participant completed 2 rounds of personality tests, social surveys, and logic games, and was asked to repeat the process 2 weeks later. When the AI replicas underwent the same tests, they matched the responses of their human counterparts with 85% accuracy. Now, again, they will try to tell us that this is a benefit. And to be clear, just as with almost any new invention, there are positives and there are negatives. The positives will be what they pitch us on. The negatives will be the things that they will dismiss. And those negatives, those are the things that will, over time, lead to, again, in my humble opinion, lead to the downfall of America, not just America, of the world, the Western world, I should say. It will make it to where we're just easier to manipulate and control. And that's really what this comes down to. This isn't about making your life easier. I'm not saying that researchers are sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, let's twirl our mustache and figure out how to take over the world. No, they're thinking along the lines of, hey, this could be good. This could be great. But they won't, they'll ignore the potential bad. And then when the bad starts popping up, they won't have answers on how to fix it. The paper proposed that AI models that emulate human behavior could be useful across a variety of research scenarios. This is how they'll start, and how they are starting. They'll say it's going to be done in labs. It's just for research. It's for hypothetical. It's don't worry about the real world applications. We'll get to that. That's probably 10, 20, 30, 50 years down the line. I even actually heard a I forgot who it was. It was just yesterday. They were relatively famous scientists saying that AI will be smarter than us, smarter than humans within 100 years. And I mean, this is like a couple of years ago they said this. I'm like, what? 100 years? Are you kidding? It's not gonna. I wish. Anyway, the paper proposed that AI models that emulate human behavior could be useful across a variety of research scenarios, such as evaluating the effectiveness of public health policies, understanding responses to public product launches, or even modeling reactions to major societal events that might otherwise be too costly, challenging, or ethically complex to study with human participants. Here's a quote from the researchers' paper: general purpose simulation of human attitudes and behaviors with each simulated person can engage across a range of social, political, or informational contexts. Could enable a laboratory, just a lab, don't worry, we're not going to put this in the real world, a laboratory for researchers to test, not apply, just test, a broad set of interventions and theories. It is a concern, not one that we should be like apoplectic about. This isn't a call to disconnect your phone and get off the internet and go buy a homestead in Montana, but that wouldn't necessarily be a bad idea. At this point in America's history, at this point in human development, these types of threats that continue to pop up, especially these threats that are not being seen as threats by the vast majority of people. They're seen as benefits, but these quote-unquote benefits that will turn into threats that will eventually be used to control us, to enslave us, without the use of flying dogs with guns, flying robot dogs, armed. Well, this is where I would say this show is most relevant. This is why we as a small but growing community of people who are skeptical of what's happening in the world, we need to share everything we can. We need to make our voices heard. That's why I do this show. That's why I have shifted the focus of this show to stories like this rather than just stories about, oh my gosh, what's happening with the continuing resolution? What's happening? I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that, but everybody's already talking about that when they should be talking about stuff like this. I'm going to talk about it. Hopefully, Lord willing, you'll help me by getting other people to listen. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, and apparently they're also eating the pigeons. And no, I'm not talking about Ohio or Pennsylvania or any of the places that made the news over the summer and fall. In this case, I'm talking about New York City. And we're talking about just outside of a halal truck, a halal vendor, busted by the New York Post. Watch this. Well, I suppose in the apocalypse, we learned that all you need is a little bit of breadcrumbs, and pigeons are apparently pretty easy to grab. I'm laughing, but this is unfortunate because let's hope that it was for personal consumption, or maybe he's breeding them. Maybe we don't know what happened after it was caught, but it's kind of conspicuous that a pigeon was caught and then brought into a halal food truck. Just goes to show you that pigeons are possibly on the menu in New York City. Chuck Schumer is a bald-faced liar. Of course, you knew that if you've been paying any attention to Chuck Schumer over the years, decades. But he pulled a stunt on Sunday that I thought was very funny. He was lying about Joe Biden, and it's comical. It would be very funny, actually, if it wasn't so sad, because it's crystal clear that he knew exactly what was wrong with Joe Biden long before he said back in February of 2024 that Joe Biden was as sharp as he's ever been. Watch.
Obviously, there has been a lot of focus on President Biden's role in this. You were obviously in close contact with President Biden well before the public tuned into that debate that ultimately led to him stepping down. I want to play you a little bit of something you said last year. Take a look.
I talk to President Biden, regularly, sometimes several times in a week, or usually several times in a week. His mental acuity is great. It's fine. It's as good as it's been over the years. All this right-wing propaganda that his mental acuity has declined is wrong.
Leader Schumer, what do you say to Americans who feel as though you and other top Democrats misled them about President Biden's mental acuity?
Well, look, we didn't, and let's look at President Biden. He's had an amazing record. The legislation we passed, one of the most significant groups of legislation since Lyndon Johnson's Great Society, putting in 235 judges, a record, and he's a patriot. He's a great guy. And when he stepped down, he did it on his own because he thought it was better not only for the Democratic Party, for America. We should all salute him. We should all salute him.
Do you feel, as we have this conversation today, that President Biden could serve another 4 years had he stayed in the race and potentially won?
Well, I'm not going to speculate. As I said, I think his record is a stellar one, and he'll go down in history as a really outstanding president.
Yeah, so Chuck Schumer's an idiot, but he's not stupid. There's a difference. He's an idiot for thinking that he and the Democrats would be able to keep Joe Biden propped up for 4 years, let alone possibly 8 years, is what they were initially thinking. But he's not stupid. He didn't get surprised by Joe Biden's dementia. He's known about it for a long, long time, probably since before the 2020 election. They were probably very well aware. They just couldn't back down, couldn't back out. They were stuck with him, and they remained stuck with him, and they thought maybe we can just fool the American people. Maybe the American people are just so stupid that we would never know. We've known for a long time. You might have some friends out there who were like totally surprised by the debate, but I wasn't. You probably weren't. Okay. Majority of anybody who's been paying any attention at all to Joe Biden, Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter. If they've been paying attention to Joe Biden over the years, they should have known before he was elected that he was suffering from massive mental acuity issues, likely early stage dementia. And now that he's in what I'm not a doctor, but I do believe that he's in full-blown dementia, late stage dementia, which is unfortunate, but it's a reality. Well, I mean, what can we do? We've got to hold out for just a few more weeks. We're almost there. But what about people like Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi? What about people in the White House, whether they're an elected official or a bureaucrat? Anybody who knew that Joe Biden was suffering from mental acuity issues and who didn't say anything, who pretended otherwise, who even lied to the American people and said that he was sharp as a tack, those people should be held accountable. I wish that we would. I wish that we as the people of the United States of America would hold these people accountable. They should not be reelected. They should not be given cush jobs after they leave their bureaucratic state. They should be, if anything, ridiculed, exiled, canceled, as they like to say. These people did harm to the United States of America, and they should, as a result, suffer the consequences.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving us with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss. I'm going to make it your gain. For the first time ever, you get standard classic MyPillows for wholesale prices, only $14.88. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, I'm going to offer my entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Upgrade to a queen size MyPillow for just $18.88. King size only $1 more. Get my body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on the screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever on TV, including my standard size MyPillow, only $14.88. They've never been offered this low before. We have limited quantities at this price, so limit's going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Whether you've been a prepper for a long time, or maybe you're just getting started, you're just looking around and thinking how crazy it is. We usually cover the basics. You get your food, you get your water, you get your ammunition. Don't forget your ammo. You get your battery chargers, solar battery chargers, or whatever. But a lot of times I think people will forget their meds, okay? Whether it's chronic meds, antibiotics, I think a lot of people don't even realize that you can stock up on that stuff. They go to the doctor, they go to the pharmacy, and the pharmacist said, oh, here's your 2-month supply or whatever. Well, you can actually stock up on a lot of these meds by going to jdrucker.com/meds. You'll talk to the good folks over at Jace Medical. They can get you a 12-month supply of certain prescription drugs. They can get you emergency meds, all sorts of good stuff, things that you may or may not need, but it's always good to have it on hand because I guarantee you, even if you don't think you need it today, you might need it in the future. jdrucker.com/meds. The state of Michigan is about to clear out 420 acres of pesky trees in a forest in order to build a solar farm. Of course, the climate change cult is ecstatic by the news. As a matter of fact, they want more than 420 acres. There are currently 4,000 acres, which have been set aside by the state's Department of Natural Resources in order to increase revenues. They're facing a shortfall when it comes to revenues because of, oddly enough, they're falling behind on on fishing and hunting license revenues. So they're going to lease some of the land out, which just makes sense. But then to put in a solar farm, this is a double dipper. They're going to make money allegedly from this, but also they're going to be more aligned with their climate change cult goals. According to an article over at Breitbart.com by Elizabeth Wiebel, the Michigan Department of Natural Resources is planning to clear 420 acres of trees in a state forest in order to build a solar farm, according to a recent report. A top state official confirmed the Michigan DNR's plans to clear the acres of state forest for a solar farm. The acres being cleared from the state forest are reportedly among the 4,000 acres of public land throughout Michigan that will be leased in order to address decreased revenues from hunting and fishing licenses, as well as Michigan falling behind building enough renewable energy. We got to build renewable energy, apparently. But not nuclear, because nuclear doesn't fit in with the economic policy of the Green New Deal, so that's why they're against it, not because it's cheap and demonstrable renewable energy, but because it doesn't allow them to do stupid things such as this. Leasing, back to the article, leasing 4,000 acres of public land statewide is part of the DNR's plan to help remedy both problems in coming years. Officials said that state solar initiatives may begin just west of Gaylord. DNR officials also reportedly recently assessed 1,200 acres of public land in Otsego County near a major power transmission line to decide whether it was suitable for solar arrays. They're just going to throw up solar, unreliable and expensive solar, because that makes sense. Daily Wire reported that Chris Martz, a meteorology student, had published a chart showing nuclear power produces far more power in less land than solar and wind. And that's something that we know. It's something that they know. To be clear, if you ever wonder why the climate change cult is so against nuclear power, it's because it would solve many of the problems that they claim to be attacking. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting that the low-level cultists, the ones that are out there, smearing tomato soup on artwork or gluing their hands to the road, I'm not saying that they actually know anything about nuclear power, but the people that are driving them, we'll call them the climate change cult leaders, they know all about it. The problem with nuclear power is that it doesn't enable them to take economic control of the world. You have to control the energy in order to control continents. That's according to, of course, Henry Kissinger, who had said that. And they can't control the energy if the energy is abundant and inexpensive, such as is the case with modern nuclear power. Therefore, we'll continue to see things such as forests being cut down by environmentalists for the sake of solar or wind power or any of the other various projects that have absolutely nothing to do with addressing the alleged problem of climate change. As I noted in an earlier segment, we are either on the verge of having AGI, artificial general intelligence, or it's already here and they just haven't told us. Well, now, Sam Altman, the creator and CEO of OpenAI, that's ChatGPT, has come out and said that AGI is here, it's ready, it'll have an impact in 2025. And he says it'll have an impact on the workforce. I think that it will have an impact on a lot more than that, but I'll get into the I guess scarier stuff, the existential threat aspect of artificial general intelligence. But let's first turn to Daily Wire and the actual news component, a very, I think, toned down version of it. But hey, this is what they do. OpenAI's Sam Altman says, we know how to build AGI, and it will hit the workforce in 2025. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman said in a blog post on Sunday that his company has discovered how to build artificial general intelligence, and that the product will start to impact the workforce this year. Here's a quote from Altman. He says, "We are now confident we know how to build AGI as we have traditionally understood it. We believe that in 2025 we may see the first AI agents join the workforce and materially change the output of companies. AGI is a type of artificial intelligence that can match or surpass human cognitive ability on a range of tasks or subjects." He said that the company believes creating AGI and putting it in the hands of people leads to great, broadly distributed outcomes. Notice he didn't say positive outcomes. Great could be bad. I laugh, but it's not funny. He continued, "We are beginning to turn our aim beyond that to superintelligence in the true sense of the word. We love our current products, but we are here for the glorious future." Ugh. You know, whenever globalists start talking about a glorious future, that's when we should definitely cringe. Back to his quote, "With superintelligence, we can do anything else. Superintelligent tools could massively accelerate scientific discovery and innovation well beyond what we are capable of doing on our own, and in turn massively increase abundance and prosperity." Now therein, it's funny, he didn't intend it, but therein lies the actual real threat. As I said earlier, I'm not scared of Skynet. I'm not scared of flying robot dogs with machine guns hunting us down, like a lot of science fiction depicts artificial intelligence. No, I fear, and my bigger concern, I shouldn't say fear, my biggest concern is that AGI will work. It will work exactly like they say it will be. It will make things easier. They will make more and better scientific discoveries. They will be able to diagnose health issues and solve them faster. They will in many ways, make humans obsolete. And here's the thing. Many humans in Western society, many of us, many of you, perhaps even, will embrace it. Because the idea is that, hey, if this is better at doing things, if this is more efficient, safer, and all that other stuff, then, all we've got to figure out is how to survive, how to live, and it can take care of all the other stuff for us, right? Well, this is where we will be introduced to, in my humble opinion, universal basic income. It will become necessary because there will be people who essentially have no use. They will be told, hey, you can start doing this, pick up a hobby, participate in whatever, do philanthropic work, or what they, things they couldn't even get a robot AI to do. they'll have humans do, but then we will be forced in many ways into universal basic income. And of course, this will coincide with a one world government, a one world economy, a one world religion. Yes, I do see artificial intelligence as an existential threat, as a stepping stone to the bad portion of the end times. A lot of us believe that we are in the end times now, that we are seeing the signs of being at least in the season. Nobody knows the day or the time, but we can see the season, and it certainly feels to me and to perhaps many of you like we are in the season of the end of days. Artificial general intelligence, once it is unleashed, will be, in my humble opinion, one of the not just a harbinger, but one of the instigators of the actual end times themselves. Be sure to follow my work everywhere that I work by going to jdrucker.com/find, Find. jdrucker.com/find. You'll find my socials, my shows, my Substacks, the works. All right, so let's get to January 6th, 2021. Now, I don't want to rehash. Just to be clear, chances are you've probably already seen or heard other show hosts talking about January 6th, talking about what a travesty it was, talking about how it's being used and abused. I want to talk specifically about the need, and this need falls upon you and me, but you, the need to explain to people, to convince people in many ways that January 6th was not only, was it not an insurrection, not only was it not the way that it's being portrayed as the worst event in modern American history, akin to 9/11 or Pearl Harbor or anything like that. Not only are those things not true, but there's a reason why those narratives have been pushed out. There's actually 2 or 3 reasons why, but there's one or 2 major reasons. And we need people to understand this. We need people to realize, and when I say people, I'm talking about your normie friends, your leftist friends, your centrist friends, maybe even your Republican Fox News watching Republican friends who still think January 6th was kind of a big deal and kind of a riot and an insurrection, and really there should be some people anyway. Nobody should be punished for it because it was all manufactured. It was the entirety of January 6th, the quote-unquote riots. They were manufactured. They were planned, and not by the members of the people that went there to rightly protest what they felt was a stolen election. And definitely not Trump or any of his people. None of these people should be in any trouble whatsoever. And every one of them who is currently in jail or who has been convicted should be pardoned. Now you might say, well, but we need to look at it case by case. No, blanket pardon across the board. Okay? Across the board, blanket pardon. If you really break down the scenario, you'll understand that even those who went too far and maybe got violent and maybe got destructive, those people should still be pardoned because, again, I would argue that had the events themselves not been manufactured by those who opposed President Trump, not by President Trump himself, but by his opposition, if the events had not been manufactured, then none of those people would have acted the way that they did. But before we get into some important pieces of evidence, I want to explain the why part. Okay, why did January 6th happen? And the reason that it happened was because this is shortly after the 2020 election, obviously. This was a time when it was long planned, long announced. President Trump had been calling for it for weeks, calling for people to go to Washington, D.C. on January 6th and to peacefully protest, to send a message to Congress and specifically to senators to say, hey, this election was fraudulent. We support President Trump. We want the real results to reign. That was the intention. It was misguided. There's a good chance that President Trump might have been manipulated into calling for it. That's a discussion for another day. But we have to understand why this happened, why they took this opportunity, they being the deep state, the uniparty swamp, the globalist elite cabal. Their intention was not just to beat Donald Trump. They'd already done that. Their intention was to prevent Donald Trump from ever making it back into the White House. They knew that they'd been done wrong and they'd been doing wrong for a long time, and that if he were to win again in 2024, as he did, praise God for that, then there's a chance that all of their lies, their cheating, the corruption, the scandals that aren't known about yet, at least in full, that those would be exposed. And by golly, they couldn't let that happen. They were beside themselves thinking of that being a possibility. So they positioned it to where they would have ammunition to use against him, to possibly coerce him, to impeach him as they tried to do again a second time, and to put the label of insurrection onto him so that if he was able to win again in 2024, as he did, praise God, then they would have something that they could hold over him to prevent him from ascending back into the office of the President of the United States. That was the primary goal, intention number one. secondary goal, call it a perk, a fringe benefit, a bonus, cherry on top, was you and me and any other patriots who would stand up. They needed to make examples of those who would stand by President Trump. They needed to silence us. And let's face it, it worked. For the most part, it worked. Their intention of silencing us, it worked. I mean, rallies that have taken place after. I'm not talking about Trump rallies during the campaign. I'm talking about protests for various events that happened after, that were planned after January 6, 2021. There was a tremendous cooling effect that swept across patriots here in this nation. I saw events that were embarrassingly small. These were events that should have had tens of thousands of people that ended up having hundreds of people. Why? Because, we were concerned. Many patriots who normally would have shown up at these events, at these protests, thought, I wonder if the FBI is there. I wonder if by being there, there's going to be something else that's going to happen. Something is going to stir up, and then I'm going to end up just like the J6 political prisoners. There was a concern. There was a fear. I'll just go ahead and say it. A lot of you were scared. I remember going to one event. This was supposed to be a huge event. It was supposed to have, like I said, over 10,000. They were estimating 11 to 14,000 people at this particular. It was a protest actually for January 6th. But anyway, protest in favor of the January 6th political prisoners, right? There was maybe 1,000 people, and I would say 10% of them were press. It was awful. It was abysmal. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing to be there. It was a waste of time. And I know that the January 6th, the events that followed after January 6th, the arrests, the narratives, the way that the people were demonized for protesting, that, more than anything else, is what cooled everybody down and got it to where more Americans complied. Now, thankfully, I would say that we're starting to finally come back, and we really have been since the beginning of the campaign. People have been more bold, more aggressive, more willing to go and support those who will fight for us, fight for our nation. So I'm going to give you 5 pieces of data, because trying to convince a normie that it wasn't an insurrection, it wasn't a riot, and that it was planned with those 2 goals in mind, other goals too, but those 2 primary goals in mind, getting people to believe that after 4 years of being bombarded with J6 is an insurrection, J6 was a riot, J6 is a riot. The only way that we can get them to understand is to be able to show them certain truths. Now, I've cherry-picked certain truths that, we can get into, go over videos, and we can go over a lot of these various things, but for the most part, I don't think that a lot of people are going to actually pay attention to that. You have to get them to there first by giving them information that kind of sparks their interest. So number 1, it has been demonstrated now, beyond a shadow of doubt, that, and admitted, not just beyond a shadow of doubt, the FBI, the Department of Justice, has admitted that there were undercover FBI agents there, and we have video evidence that they participated in instigating the attacks that happened, the entry into the Capitol building itself. FBI agents, and yes, there were, and they've admitted to dozens. I would say there's probably more than that. But then there were also FBI assets there. One would argue that if you include members of Antifa who were there, we've seen videos of Antifa, taking off their black Antifa gear, and then, they're in the bushes and then putting on MAGA hats and stuff like that. We've seen those videos. But we do know that there was a lot. Might have been a few, might have been dozens, might have been over 100 members of Antifa pretending to be MAGA and stirring people up, trying to get them to go enter the Capitol and to riot and to throw things and to steal podiums or whatever. Number 2, and this is a big one. This is the one that I think it keeps getting suppressed in the media, and we have to continue to reiterate this fact. And that's the fact that Mayor Bowser and Nancy Pelosi, the 2 people who were capable of accepting the help that Donald Trump had offered, capable of accepting 10,000 National Guardsmen. President Trump called for it, wanted them to accept 10,000 National Guardsmen to be present at the Capitol on January 6th, 2021. He authorized it. He had everything was good to go. All he needed was the request. And not only did they, Pelosi and Bowser, not request it, Bowser specifically wrote saying, we do not want National Guard there at all. Why would they do that? I mean, we now know, based upon information that has come out in the 4 years since, we now know that they were aware that there was probably going to be shenanigans. They knew. They were offered the solution. The solution is 10,000 National Guardsmen, and not a single person would have been able to enter the Capitol building on that day. There wouldn't, one could argue that because of Bowser's and Pelosi's unwillingness to accept the assistance that Donald Trump offered, that more than anything is why any of the deaths that took place on or after as a result of January 6th, any of those deaths should be not on Donald Trump, not on any of the organizers. Those deaths should be on Mayor Bowser and Nancy Pelosi for being either idiots or complicit. It's either they were in on it and they wanted this scam, this con, this conspiracy to move forward so they could stop President Trump and cool down patriots across the nation, or they were just the dumbest human beings possible. And it could go either way. I mean, technically it could be both. I mean, Mayor Bowser and Nancy Pelosi could both be the dumbest people possible and pure evil in allowing people to die as a result of their desire to keep President Trump from coming back into office. Number 3. This too has been confirmed by corporate media, very quietly, but still confirmed by corporate media, that the vast majority, nearly all of the law enforcement personnel who participated in the January 6th event, everybody who's there, everybody who helped coordinate, everybody who had eyes on the ground, ears in their headphones, watching things, helping things, trying to keep the peace, they have all been gagged. They are not allowed, under threat, by the way, not just threat of losing their jobs, some of them under threat of conviction, of charges being filed against them. They're not allowed to discuss the events. There were a certain few, a handful, some that were cherry-picked, some that were trusted. Many of them trusted specifically by Nancy Pelosi because she knew them. Members of Capitol Police who have come out, and they're kind of the spokespeople for what happened that day. Some of them, and I would say, I don't know for sure, but as far as I know, most, if not all of them, have been greatly rewarded for their cooperation, for their stories. Meanwhile, there are many police who have gone without being allowed to say a word. Some have killed themselves. Others have left the force in protest. I mean, you look at Michael Byrd. Don't even get me started. That's the officer who shot and killed Ashley Babbitt. There's some sort of special about him, how his life has been turned upside down. Dude, his life is not turned. His life is exactly, he's being pampered right now. Okay? He's fine. You know who's not fine? Ashley Babbitt or her family. They're not fine. Number 4. This is one that gets me. The J6 committee said that they had accumulated evidence that demonstrates that President Trump participated in an insurrection. They always have to use that word because, again, they want to be able to try to utilize the 14th Amendment. They thought, well, if we can get the insurrection label on him, then even if he's able to win in 2024, well, still, he'll be gone anyway. We'll be able to stop him. That was the plan. That's why they kept saying insurrection, insurrection, insurrection. Because somebody stole a podium. Anyway, so the J6 committee, with Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger proudly demonstrating their uniparty swamp credentials, they had all this evidence that Trump participated in the insurrection. The members of Trump's team participated in the quote-unquote insurrection. And then, when it came time to present this evidence, to bring this evidence to light to the American people, did they present it? No, they presented some of it, the parts that they cherry picked, some of the stuff that they manufactured. Okay, some of the stuff that they got that stuff out there, but everything else, they destroyed it. They destroyed the evidence against the wishes of then incoming Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy. And if you've got evidence that Donald Trump committed insurrection, are you going to say, nope, we got rid of the evidence, but trust us, we saw it, and it definitely, totally proved that Trump is an insurrectionist. Totally proved it. We're not showing you, we destroyed it. But it totally. Oh, what about the testimonies that demonstrated that it definitely wasn't an insurrection? Well, we're suppressing those. You can't see Kash Patel's testimony. No. Can't see that. We'll show you Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony. She's totally trustworthy. Yeah, they did everything they could to destroy evidence, to prevent the release of videos taken that day, and to prevent certain testimonies from ever coming to light. Kash Patel specifically had asked for a public hearing. They denied him. And then they sued to prevent his testimony from ever getting out. It wasn't released until, I think, the day before the January 6th committee was disbanded, and only because they can't. That's something, you can't shred video. You can try to suppress it, but it's there. People have copies of it. It's not like, oh my gosh, it's gone and disappeared. It never existed. No, he was there. He testified, and they tried to suppress it. And others, this happened to many people, but not Cassidy Hutchinson. No. Last but not least, and again, we're talking about pieces of evidence that I believe you can use to try to get your normie friends, leftists, rhinos, whatever, people that have been indoctrinated, people that have been brainwashed by corporate media, ways that you can get them to start opening their eyes. This isn't going to convince anybody. All we're trying to do is get the door open. Get the door open to where perhaps they can start looking into it themselves and find more evidence, read more damning information, and come to the conclusion that, holy crap, this really was planned and manufactured to stop Donald Trump from being president ever again and to prevent patriots from protesting. That's it. So this last piece of evidence, there were 5 police who died after January 6th. And we keep hearing about how there were these five law enforcement officers, 5 police officers who died in the line of duty on January 6th. That's not true. And if it were true, we can debate, who got hit over the head with what. We can debate, well, he killed himself because of the events of January 6th. Okay. But if there were police officers murdered, as they say, murdered or killed in some way, you would expect that when a police officer dies, the investigations will bring forward charges. I mean, it's not like, this was one of the most, they've been able to get convictions across the board, right? Convictions. They've been able to get all these convictions for all of these various quote-unquote crimes, but they couldn't find one murderer, one person to charge with manslaughter. With all these videos, all this evidence, all the tracking data, and the complete and total weight of the Federal Bureau of Investigation helping them, they had 5 alleged cop killers, at least 5, and not a single one has been charged or arrested or prosecuted or jailed or convicted. 0. Not for murder, not for manslaughter, not for anything. Cops, mind you. Police deaths are tragic, just as all deaths are, but police deaths are tragic in a way because when they die, it's a different way than other deaths, because these are the friends, the peers of those who do the investigating. And by golly, when there's a quote-unquote cop killer out there, the police do what they need to do and give their extra effort And you're telling me that the Capitol Police, one of the most well-funded, well-trained police force in the United States of America, in the world, that they couldn't find any one of 5 cop killers? Not one? 0? 0 charges. 0 arrests. 0 convictions. That, to me, says beyond a shadow of a doubt, the narrative being created. I'm not trying to downplay the deaths of these officers, to be clear. But the narrative that they're trying to create, that they're continuing to try to perpetuate, that J6 was an insurrection, that cops were killed, murdered as a result in the line of duty on J6, that it was just the MAGA people, and that it was all Trump's fault. Those 4 narratives are false. They know it. You know it. Now, hopefully, Lord willing, we can get other people, the normies, to learn the truth as well.
I'm Jonathan Rose, CEO of Genesis Gold Group. As Americans, we work hard every day to provide for our families and ensure their future. But with the uncertainty facing our economy, it is more important than ever to safeguard your wealth and protect your retirement savings. Educated investors look to safe haven assets to shield themselves from the economic storm. Tangible assets like gold and silver can provide stability, security, and most importantly, peace of mind. In 1997, the Taxpayer Relief Act allowed Americans to hold physical precious metals like gold and silver in their IRAs for the first time. Today, Genesis Gold Group helps our clients transfer existing IRAs, 401ks, and other retirement accounts into physical gold and silver, tax and penalty free. With thousands of satisfied clients, 5-star reviews, and fully accredited with the Better Business Bureau, our experienced team is here to help you navigate the process. Start to finish, now is the time to educate yourself on the importance of a diversified portfolio, including tangible assets like gold and silver. Call now to receive our free wealth protection kit and digital dollar defense guide. Call now and we'll include our extremely popular silver prepper bar free when you open your account. Add it to your IRA or have it sent to your home. Call Genesis Gold Group today at 800-200-GOLD. Prepper bar only available through Genesis Gold Group.
Pastor John Macarthur has been hospitalized and is facing slower than expected recovery from surgeries. Now, for those who aren't familiar, John Macarthur is the leader of Grace Community Church. He is very outspoken and semi-famous pastor, especially out here in Commiefornia, one of the largest churches out here in the state, and he has never shied away from both political as well as faith-driven debates. He's very outspoken. I've never had a challenge with him personally. I have some disagreements with him doctrinally and as far as his exegesis and his interpretations of the Bible. There are some differences there, but mild and definitely nothing compared to my problems with other pastors, especially celebrity pastors like him. Now, as far as celebrity pastors go, he's one of the not so bad ones. Okay, I actually like him. I think that he is. I know with near certainty that his heart is in the right place, and I guess that is arguably the most important component of being a pastor. Second, of course, to actually understanding and teaching the Bible. But let's get to this article from the Christian Post by Michael Grabowski. Grace Community Church pastor John Macarthur has had a slower than expected recovery from 3 surgeries performed last year and is currently hospitalized, according to a recent update. Elder Tom Patton said in an update Sunday that prominent 85-year-old California pastor and author suffered a series of health issues that kept him out of the pulpit and required 3 surgeries in the second half of 2024. According to Patton, his recovery has been slower than expected, with occasional setbacks affecting his heart, lungs, and kidneys. The doctors have not yet discovered any single root cause for these diverse troubles. John has been hospitalized for the last 2 weeks and undergoing tests and treatments, so please pray for him and for the physicians that are handling the case, as well as the nurses, as well as everybody involved. We always have to make sure it's not just about doctors, folks. But to be clear, any doctrinal disagreements I might have with John Macarthur are completely secondary to the man's health. He is 85 years old. He has served pretty much his entire adult life, attempting to be in the service of God. So for that, he definitely deserves our prayers. And I would argue that regardless of any beef that somebody might have against him, that when it comes to situations like these, we have to hope for a speedy and successful recovery. I wanted to make a quick observation. One of the things that we've been doing here in the new and revamped JD Rucker Show is we're focusing a lot more on conspiracy theories. That's great. But we're also trying to build Discern.tv, and to do so, I'm going to need a lot of content from other people. I can't just have just me on there. That wouldn't be very effective. So we are trying to add more than just me. Well, one of the challenges that I found, there's two challenges, really. Number one, Rumble. As much as I love Rumble, the conspiracy theory section is pretty limited. There are a lot of creators on Rumble that talk about conspiracy theories, but there aren't a whole lot that focus on conspiracy theories. So unfortunately, I had to go to YouTube. I know what you're thinking, but yes, I had to go to YouTube and look for conspiracy theories, mysteries, places like that. And I found a few good channels. But the vast majority of the channels, what I found, and this is after listening to hours of conspiracy theories, is there's a formula. I guess, and it seems to be exclusive just to YouTube. It's probably on Facebook. I don't watch those videos. But so it seems as if there's a particular conspiracy theory. Sometimes it's like a mystery from the past or whatever. And most, not all, I found a couple of great ones, but most of them will take the conspiracy theory, talk about it, go into all the detail about it, and then end by debunking it. Now, I know that when it comes to monetization on YouTube and the algorithm and whatever, that these creators, especially those who are trying to make a living off this, a lot of times they are forced to go down that road of trying to debunk conspiracy theories, because YouTube itself is just one giant attempt to debunk anything that can be considered a conspiracy theory. And as a matter of fact, they name certain things that clearly aren't conspiracy theories. They try to name them conspiracy theories, but that's a whole other discussion. This is about the creators themselves, and these are very popular ones. A lot of the ones that I found were extremely popular. Of course, the YouTube algorithm is very good at presenting you with similar channels. So once I started going to 1, 2, finding 5 or 6, getting recommendations, eventually it got to the point where I started getting a lot more of these like-minded people. And again, it seems as if, and this in itself is a conspiracy theory, which is funny, but it seems as if the creators that YouTube recommends aren't the ones that are taking conspiracy theories and really running with them and exposing the conspiracies themselves or corruption. A lot of them are just trying to debunk the conspiracy theories that are out there. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Not all of you, but some of you might be thinking that, well, of course, because once you start with one, then that's what they're going to present to you. You're going to get similar, if this guy talks about conspiracy theories and then debunks it, then you're going to get more that are like that. But I specifically tried it on multiple browsers, multiple accounts, even non-accounts, and was trying to get recommended people that were actually taking conspiracy theories and running with them and trying to expose them for real. And even then, nope, couldn't get a whole lot of good conspiracy theories. I know there has to be some out there. Some good channels, whether on YouTube or Rumble or wherever, that will do 2, 3, 5, 10-minute videos, sometimes 20, sometimes an hour. I don't care. It could be a full-blown documentary. Discern.tv is going to have a wide array of content once we get it fully up and running. And it is up and running now. It's just we want to get tons of content on there. Right? And it's not just conspiracy theories. We want to talk about categories like preparedness and survival, obviously politics, culture, geopolitics, various events, even economic, financial. I want Discern.tv to be a repository of truthful and interesting and insightful content. And again, I don't want it to just be just be me. It wouldn't make for much of a channel if it's just the content that I'm able to produce. I want people to have options of 5, 10, 15, 30 videos a day. Things that sometimes we're able to curate, other times we're able to take on recommendations. Sometimes we'll be able to trust it just based strictly on the source. There are times, for example, when, like, we'll use Steve Poplar as an example. Steve Poplar, I wouldn't call him a conspiracy theorist per se, but he does talk about shortages. He talks about things that are crazy things that are happening in the world. And I generally can trust his content, so I don't have to watch. He posts anywhere from 10 to 20-minute videos, and he posts 2 or 3 a day. I can judge by the topic itself whether or not it's a video that I want to publish. So without having to watch the entire thing. Others, generally speaking, I watch it double time, which is annoying because you don't get the full scope, but especially since I'm usually listening passively while I'm doing other work. But still, I can get the gist and determine whether or not a video is going to be truthful or not. And unfortunately, going through and trying to find more conspiracy theory channels on YouTube yielded very little fruit. I've gone through probably in the last couple of days 2 or 3 dozen, and found four channels that are worth monitoring. Thankfully, those ones are good. But the others, again, it's like, here's a big conspiracy. This is crazy. This is nuts. But it's probably all fake. I don't want to hear about fake conspiracy theories. Either the conspiracy theory is real or it's not real, and I wouldn't want to cover it anyway. I don't want, hey, here's a conspiracy theory, and here's why it's not true. And to be clear, I guess that every now and then, especially if a conspiracy theory really starts taking off, yeah, I could totally see that as being relevant and important, and I guess you could say the level of quality for Discern.tv that I would want. But that's very rare. Mostly, let's just talk about the conspiracies. There's plenty of real ones out there to expose, and we don't have to spend a whole lot of time on the fake ones that are trying to be debunked, especially if I don't think they're fake. There were a few of them that were clearly not fake. I mean, these were actual conspiracy theories that did seem to have a strong amount of legitimacy and evidence about them, and yet these videos mostly concluded that the conspiracy theory was false. And so yeah, the reason I wanted to do this particular segment on that is I need your help. Please reach out to me, jdrucker.com/talk, jdrucker.com/talk, or x.com/jdrucker. I do have open DMs. So x.com/jdrucker, Rumble, I don't care, Brighteon, BitChute, wherever. Obviously Rumble, YouTube, Twitter, if there's any great X accounts that I should be following. I'd rather not have to go to Facebook. I avoid Facebook like the plague. I usually hop in there about once a month, if that, and only to see, oh, hey, is anything crazy happening to any of my close friends or family. Otherwise, I avoid Facebook like the plague, and I generally never go to Instagram or TikTok, but I guess if you know some great ones there that I need to monitor. We want to build Discern.tv to be the place that anybody can go. Anybody who's like-minded, conservative, probably Christian, probably conspiracy theory oriented, very much against cultural Marxism, very much against globalism, the expansion of the state. These are concepts that we want to be able to cover on Discern.tv, and I need a wide array of creators. So anybody you'd like to recommend, please reach out to me, jdrucker.com/talk or x.com/jdrucker. Reach out, let me know who should we be following, and more importantly, who should we be helping to get more eyeballs. LA vegan chain abruptly shutters all locations after angry vegan mob attacks owner for adding meat to menu in desperate bid to stay in business. Now, I am not laughing at the situation because that's a Horrible situation to be in, but I am laughing at the headline, which is awesome. Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. This comes to us from Christina Layla over at the Gateway Pundit. I mean, what a headline. We'll start with the first two letters, L.A. Of course, this is happening in L.A., which next to San Francisco is the most decrepit, just awful place here in Commiefornia. A vegan chain abruptly shutters all locations after angry vegan mob. That's right there. That's terrifying. Attacks owner for adding meat to the menu. They added meat to a vegan restaurant menu. I mean, again, I'm laughing. I feel bad. I feel horrible for anybody who loses their job. I don't care if a company's woke. I don't care if a company sells products that I don't like. I don't want Americans to lose their jobs. It doesn't matter. Now, granted, if they're in like a bureaucrat position for the federal government, that might be a different story. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I don't want this person to lose their business over it. There are vegans in the world, okay? How do you know somebody's a vegan? Don't worry, they'll tell you. And because there's vegans, there should be, these bistros, these restaurants should be out there to serve them. Everybody needs to eat, right? So this does make me a little bit sad, but it's funny that there's a lesson to be learned here. It's not funny. There's a lesson, a serious lesson. But let's get in the article. Los Angeles-based vegan restaurant chain abruptly shut down all of its locations after angry vegans attacked the company for adding meat to its menu. After 14 years, Sage Vegan Bistro was struggling to stay in business. So they added meat to their menu in an effort to rebrand and keep their doors open. However, angry vegans lashed out at the restaurant for adding animal proteins to its menu and destroyed it with negative online reviews on Yelp and Instagram. Vegans left thousands of negative comments online and accused the restaurant's chef/owner of making cruel choices and gaslighting customers. Sage's chef owner, Molly Englehart, even sold her Los Angeles home to keep her vegan restaurant chain open, but it still wasn't enough. The online vegan mob celebrated the company's demise, with one commenter saying, "This is a great day for animals." One last butcher shop posing as a restaurant in town. It's so sad. I mean, and her intention here was, of course, she launched a vegan restaurant. Economy tanked. Costs in Los Angeles to try to run a restaurant or any business at all, or just to live here, are outrageous. And so she did what she could to try to keep her dream alive. And switching from vegan to regenerative. That's awesome. Look, I'm not a vegan, if you couldn't tell, but I am a big fan of regenerative farming, and I love restaurants that focus on organic, focus on keeping bad stuff out of us, okay? I'm a huge fan of sourcing. That's why we like to eat at home. We like to know exactly where our food is coming from. So I appreciate and feel for it, but here's the thing, and this is the lesson that I mentioned before that needs to be learned. If you're going to play at all with the left, with the wokesters, with the vegans or whoever, if you're going to play in their game, then you cannot, once you're in, it's a cult. Once you're in, you can't leave. If you go in vegan, you can't transition to omnivore. That is a big no-no, and they will attack you harder than they would attack, Bob's Butcher Shop, okay? Because their sense, their instinct for revenge, I would argue, is part of the evil human heart, and it's not held back by a cultural or a faith-driven ethic or principle that would say, hey, they're struggling, they're trying to stay in business. This is a business owner that has served her community, still serving vegan food, just adding meat to the menu. Regenerative, high-quality meat. But that was not kosher to these vegans. So the mob took down somebody who was just trying to save her business. And that's the lesson here. Play with the left, die by the left. Female athletes demand Nike step up to support biological women in sports, or as we like to call them, women in sports. No need to mention biological or cisgender or whatever. They're just women, okay? And dudes are just dudes. Men are men, women are women. That's how we were created. I don't care if somebody's transgender, transvestite, trans whatever. If they're a dude, they're a dude. They can have whatever surgeries they want, use whatever pronouns they want, but they were created as a man, and therefore they are a man. It's funny they say follow the science unless it pertains to biology. Oh, then it's all about your feelings. It's crazy that those of us on the evangelical right are far more adherent to the science of biology than the radical atheist left. There's an article over at dailyexpress.com. Nike is facing criticism for its stance on transgender inclusion in sports and its subsequent marketing partnerships. In April 2023, the company collaborated with influencer Dylan Mulvaney to promote women's sportswear, including bras and leggings. This partnership sparked backlash from some female athletes and consumers who felt that Nike was not adequately supporting what they call cisgender women in sports. Critics argued that featuring a transgender woman, better known as a dude, in advertisements for women's athletic wear undermined the achievements and recognition of biological female athletes. One online campaign featured a roster of young female athletes pleading with Nike to promote biological women in women's sports. XX-XY Athletics, an apparel company founded by retired gymnast Jennifer Say, released an advertisement criticizing Nike for not supporting biological females in sports. Let's just play that one.
Dear Nike.
Dear Nike.
Dear Nike. Why won't you stand up for me?
Why won't you stand up for me? Why won't you?
Why do you claim to support women and girls?
Yet when we need you most,
you remain silent.
Today, males are claiming our identity,
our sports,
our spaces.
Men and boys are stealing opportunities, medals,
trophies,
and our future.
And it's not fair or just.
In fact, it's often dangerous. Yet you refuse to use your platform to stand up.
You say you're for social justice and progress.
So why do you allow men's rights to come before ours?
See, with a big platform
comes an even bigger responsibility.
You have a chance to do the right thing.
Not just do the easy thing.
So we're asking you, Nike.
So we're asking you, Nike.
So we're asking you, Nike.
As the biggest voice in all of sports.
Will you stand up for me? Will you stand up for me? Will you stand up for me?
Will you stand up for me? Will you?
Will you?
Will you just do it?
So that video got about nearly 3 million views on X. I don't know how many they got on Facebook. Probably none. Probably none on YouTube. Probably none on Instagram. It's their best bet. Unfortunately for most of us, our best bet is to get our views on places like Rumble or X, or BitChute or Brighteon, the very woke YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. They don't generally like this. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? But the point is that despite all of this, despite these activities, these actions, these viral campaigns, we're not seeing any changes from Nike, and we need to. I'm calling on everybody to boycott Nike, but not just boycott and not buy them. Boycott and then let them know why. Why? I mean, look, this isn't just about transgenderism, because I believe there are greater concerns than just sports ads. Okay? It's not just about boys playing in girls' sports, men playing in women's sports. There are fundamental challenges. But we take and we fight every battle, even if the battle is not as big as others. This is still a big battle. I mean, Nike is a huge company. They have tremendous influence over the sporting world. Like they said, they are the big ones. And if we can't muster enough to make them feel the pain, very similar to the way that we made Bud Light feel the pain, and Nike has done far more, by the way, to be clear. Nike has done far more to destroy women's lives than Bud Light ever has. Okay, Bud Light, they put Dylan Mulvaney on a can, and we went after them hard. Why haven't we gone after Nike as hard or harder as we should? Because again, the damage that they do when they sponsor and promote these sporting events, when they try to get these boys to become girls, and that's really what they're trying to do with this marketing. When they do these things, they're not just damaging the girls, they're damaging the boys. Okay? They're damaging the men along with the women. Now, granted, the women get hurt far more because they are unable to compete in most sports with men who are pretending to be women. So they do get the lion's share of the detrimental effects of this transgender supremacy movement. It needs to change, and I agree with Jennifer Say. I'd love to get her on the show. By the way, if anybody can reach out, I've tried to reach out to Jennifer Say, the founder, CEO, whatever of XX-XY Apparel. I would love to help promote her product. I think people should buy it because I think that the mission is righteous. The mission is valid. I don't know anything about the actual products. I'm not not exactly an athlete, but if I were, I'd be buying from them, and perhaps you should as well. Last year, my long-term storage food company, Prepper Farms, was partnered with and actually owned by another corporation. I know that nobody knew this. Very few people were even aware that this was the case because our production, our systems, everything was in place and working just as it should be. People would go, they would put in promo code JDR at prepperfarms.com. They would receive the maximum possible discount, as always, and then they would get their long-term storage beef. What you didn't know and what we can now explain now is that this year in 2025, we have gone back to the original ownership structure. And I'm very excited about that because that puts me finally back more in charge. And I am super excited about that concept, not because I crave power by any means, but because I feel that as an America First veteran-owned company, that we need to focus on helping Americans to prepare for whatever is to come, whether it's natural disasters or emergencies or de-dollarization, food crises, bird flu, whatever it is. We do expect something to happen, which is why we built prepperfarms.com in the first place. The idea here is to get high-quality, all-American, all-Texas beef, the good stuff, ribeye, New York strip, tenderloin, all of that good stuff, and freeze dry it naturally to give it a 25-year shelf life. We don't add any preservatives. There's only one ingredient, and that's beef. Lasts 25 years in the bag, and that's awesome. So support this show, support me, support yourself and your family. Protect yourself for the future by stocking up on long-term storage, high-quality beef. Go to prepperfarms.com. That's prepperfarms.com. Use promo code JDR, and you will receive the maximum possible discount. You know, I hate being Mr. Debbie Downer, Mr. Eeyore, looking at negative so much, but I will admit I'm growing more and more concerned. Every day, it seems as if we're getting more good news. Today we had, of course, Kamala Harris had to preside over the confirmation of the Electoral College vote. That was great. Good stuff there. Nothing to see. No theatrics. Not much theatrics. No nothing crazy happened there. She gavelled out and everybody went home, I guess. So that was positive. We now a step closer to having President Trump back in the Oval Office. We had some other good news. Dana White apparently has been asked to join the board of Meta. That's the Facebook parent company, and we've known that Mark Zuckerberg is a big fan of MMA, but having Dana White, a known Trump supporter, a known conservative / libertarian, joining Meta, and that's the second one, by the way, the second quote-unquote conservative. The first one was a Bush Republican, so I don't know if you want to really call him a conservative, but it seems they're changing things over at Facebook, and everybody's excited, and you see all of these various companies, and not just the companies themselves, but the individuals. For example, Apple, Tim Cook of Apple, donating $1 million to the inauguration fund. You're seeing all of these woke companies donating to the inauguration fund. And you're seeing all this good news happening, but I have to throw this out there. Why? After the 2016 victory, going into 2017, all we saw was opposition. We had rioting on Inauguration Day. We had, which of course very little was done about that. Go figure. We had companies, mostly conservative companies, or at least neutral companies, coming out and benefiting. But we didn't see any of the woke companies embracing Donald Trump, embracing patriotism and conservative values or anything like that. Today, we're learning more. I think McDonald's comes out basically against the corporate version of DEI, technically the corporate version of ESG. Okay, I mean it seems as if everybody's falling in line. I was expecting there to be riots very similar to the Summer of Love, the Summer of George Floyd. Sure, after Trump won, we didn't see it. All of this has me concerned because I know they haven't changed. I know it's not like, oh, I think we want to, because we are generally positive people on the political and cultural and evangelical right. We want to be like, oh, well, I guess they're understanding, they're testing the winds, and they're seeing that the winds of change are coming, and everybody's going in the right direction now, and they want to hop on board the Trump train or the progress train or whatever you want to call it. They just want to make America great again. They see it's going to happen. They don't want to be left behind. I mean, we can come up with whatever excuses we want, but to see it happening relatively universally tells me that there's something strange afoot. It has my alarm bells ringing in my head. Why are so many people kissing the ring? You got Justin Trudeau stepping down. You have all of these leftists, these radicals, apparently falling in line. And that's not what they generally do. Never has been. And you could say, oh, but they saw the mandate. Folks, a mandate means nothing to these people. You have to remember who we're dealing with. When we're dealing with members of the globalist elite cabal, they do not serve, they do not change, they do not serve anybody other than themselves and the globalist elite cabal and Satan. That's it. So don't tell me that Mark Zuckerberg is all of a sudden changing his ways. The dude spent $400 million to defeat Donald Trump in 2020. You think all of a sudden he's going to donate like $1 million to the inauguration fund and bring in Dana White, a friend of Donald Trump, and next thing you know, Facebook's going to be like at least neutral, if not even a conservative haven? No. There's something afoot. Something foul afoot. And I don't know what it is. So I know earlier I already asked y'all for help to help me find who are the best conspiracy theory content creators. I really want to know, and I want you to reach out. Now I've got a second question for you. We're really getting feedback from you, and I want to know about the conspiracy. Where do I find good conspiracy theory content to be able to talk about it here on the show? And then the second question is, what is going on with all of these wokesters like Mark Zuckerberg, Tim Cook, Jeff Bezos? I mean, they're not just all trying to be like Elon Musk. So what is going on? Why is Dana White being offered a role on Meta's board? Why is any of this happening? Why has there not been rioting? What do the globalist elite cabal members have planned? Because remember, at least my belief from a biblical perspective is that they represent what is spoken of in Ephesians 6:12, the powers and principalities of the modern day. So if they're out there, they've got a plan, and we're not seeing it. We're seeing the opposite of what one would consider to be a plan. That leads me to only one of two conclusions. Conclusion number one is that Donald Trump is actually a bad guy, and I'm not going to believe that until I see it. Conclusion number two is that they have some sinister, longer-term play. They're not just out there paying rioters to go burn down small towns in Wisconsin or Minnesota. They have something bigger planned, and I don't know when that bigger is going to be unleashed. So think of it like this. It's sort of like it reminds me of those scenarios where you know the bad guy knows they're being watched, right? So they conspicuously do things that are not illegal. I think it was it Breaking Bad? Yeah, Breaking Bad, where Walter White goes in and tells Gus, hey, I didn't want you to know I didn't plant the bug on your car, the tracking device on your car, and Gus is like, do it. He wants to be seen proactively doing nothing wrong. And I get the same feeling from Mark Zuckerberg. I get the same feeling from Tim Cook and Jeff Bezos. I get the same feeling from even people like George Soros or Alex Soros, his son, who are conspicuously, other than accepting awards and taking selfies, they're conspicuously absent from the conversation. Why? Where's Barack Obama been? I mean, I know that they lost, and I know that what the excuse here is that, oh, they took a big loss and they're still licking their wounds. Okay, maybe. I'm not buying it. Again, they also don't seem like wound lickers either. So what is it? I go back to, what was it? Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country, the 6th movie, where the Klingons are dying. They're in desperate need, and Spock's talking to Kirk, and he says, what do we do? And he says, Kirk says, they're Klingons. Don't believe them. Don't trust them. And Spock says, they're dying, Jim. And Kirk says, let them die. I would much rather see that. I don't want to see Mark, and not die. I'm not calling Mark, I hope Mark Zuckerberg dies before anybody starts reporting me to the FBI or anything like that. Figuratively, I wish that they would just say, hey, you know what? We're still gonna fight. We're gonna be part of the resistance. Or they run off, to wherever, Switzerland. What I don't want to see is them cozying up to patriots, cozying up to conservatives, cozying up to the administration. I don't want to see that at all. It concerns me. You're letting the snakes in. And I hope and pray that President Trump and his team recognize this and they keep everybody at arm's distance, arm's length. Don't let anybody in. Unless they are bona fide, pure, make America great again people, and always have been. Okay, I can accept if somebody is, we'll say a 5-year convert. Okay, let's say in 2020 they decided that they were going to support President Trump. Let's go back further. Let's go to 6 years. Okay, 2019 is the cutoff. Anybody who started supporting Trump after 2019, nope. Don't let them in. Can't trust them. I know there's a lot of people like Glenn Beck, for example, Mark Levin, people that were opposed to Donald Trump in 2016, maybe even into 2017. But by 2018 and 2019, they were on board. They saw what Trump could do. They saw what MAGA could do. And they realized that it was the uniparty swamp that was far more dangerous than Trump's mean words. And they hopped on the train. Glenn Beck went through a lot of humiliation to then re-earn his invite to Mar-a-Lago. But he did it. And he's been doing it for the last 5, 6, 7 years. He's acceptable. People like Mark Zuckerberg, who paid hundreds of millions of dollars to oppose Trump, doesn't get a pass because he tossed $1 million at the inauguration fund. Or because he let Dana White on the board. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what the plan is. But I am far more concerned about them because they're trying to cozy up than I would be if they were ranting and raving and rioting and all that stuff. This quiet, this silence, this calm feels like